When I was a kid, my favorite time of the week was right after Sunday school, when our father would take my twin brother and I to the local newsstand. He'd buy a newspaper and we'd load up on Marvel comic books. I've loved art for as long as I can remember, but I think the ball got rolling because of the beautiful illustrations in comic books. I'm not even sure exactly what it is, but there's something about these pictures that appeal to 12-year-old boys. Yesterday, I drove up to Atlantic City. There was going to be a ribbon cutting for a place called the Noyes Arts Garage of Richard Stockton College. The idea is to add art to the mix of gambling and shopping to try to boost the economic prospects for the city. In one of the art spaces, there was this very friendly guy named Joe Beato.
Hi, I'm Joe Beato, comic book illustrator for Marvel, DC Comics, and local artist here in Atlantic City. And I just opened the shop here, and what they have is the Noyes Garage of Art. And I'm hoping that this works as a nice little endeavor for both myself and the city. And I'm also teaching in Atlantic City now and in Ventnor, so ages up to 17, 18 years of age. I've been affiliated with a lot of the Marvel properties like X-Men, G.I. Joe, Sectors, Mask, just about every Marvel comic there's out.
I asked him how he got started in the business.
Oh, I just always had a passion for it. I always wanted to be a comic book artist, but I started out as a musician. Then I became a social worker for a lot of years, raised a family and all that. And then as I was going, I started to do samples up for the comic book companies on my spare time. Then I started submitting it, and then I got hired, and then I just kind of did a transition. I started out with doing backup stories in comics, like 7-pagers, nothing that demanded that much time. But then they said, you want to go do Avengers? That's one of the issues I started out with. And I said, yeah, you know, and so I just made the transition.
I asked Joe how he got a space at the Noyes Arts Garage.
Well, they approached me. I guess they were looking for a balance. And I'm the only cartoonist, or one of the only cartoonists in the South Jersey area. So, you know, we're few and far between us guys. Anyway, so they thought it would be a good balance for me to be here along with, you know, the other stuff that's in here like fine art and watercolor paintings and such.
The next day, I called Joe to get some more detail about his remarkable life. He told me he started out doing part-time social work in Cumberland County, working on getting food to hungry people. Eventually, he took the civil service test and worked as a full-time social worker for 10 years, serving the communities of Vineland, Millville, and Bridgeton. But he always loved the art of comics and would go to comic conventions and pick the brains of the artists and buy original art from them. He said that the usual way to break in was to apprentice with an artist, but there just weren't any living in the area. So he would really dissect the art that he bought and learn from it. There is a style to this art, particularly the line quality, that Joe loved and eventually mastered. At a Philly Comic-Con in the early 80s, he showed samples to a talent scout from DC Comics named Dick Giordano and was promptly hired. Eventually, he got a call from Marvel and was hired to be a finisher for the Avengers line. Joe explained the process of making this art requires a bunch of creative people. For example, to make a cover, you have writers and editors who propose the story and its elements, locale, characters, and emotional tone. There are then a number of rough drawings, and when one of these gets approval, the drawing is done in detail by an inker and then colored using coded Pantone color numbers for printing. Joe says you have to be very versatile in this business, but there's often one job that you end up doing the most. For him, it was inking, which is the highly detailed work that gives life to the image. One thing that really impressed me about Joe is his encyclopedic knowledge of his field. He went on at length about the influence of French and Asian artists on the postmodern development of the medium. Joe Del Beato is a kind and creative guy and a terrific artist. If you're interested in great art at a ridiculously low price, visit him at the Noyes Art Garage at the corner of Fairmount and Mississippi Avenues in Atlantic City.
Here I'll have the original comic book art. I do commissions. And just different stuff, all related to the comic book field.
And trust me, you do not have to be a 12-year-old boy to love the art of Joe Del Beato.